everyone, and welcome. My name is Amber Walsh. I'm the Senior Account Manager here at Handwrytten. I'm so glad you could join us today. We are excited to dive into how our integrations can make it even easier for you to scale to your clients. I'm especially excited to introduce our speakers today. First, we have David Wax, the CEO and founder of Handwrytten. David started Handwrytten with a simple but powerful idea to make personal handwritten communication scalable for businesses. He's passionate about blending technology with a human touch. And today, he'll be sharing how you can put that into action. Later, we are also going to be joined by David A., Senior Integrations Engineer. David brings a wealth of technical expertise and will walk us through the nuts and bolts of how these integrations actually work by taking your live questions. Really important to note that your questions will be visible to the entire audience. And for now, please help welcome David.
Thank you so much, Amber, and thank you everybody for joining. This could be a great webinar here, and I see we have 33 people live, so that's super exciting. So what I want to do today is I want to walk you through a presentation. So somewhere here, I can pull that up. Just a little presentation we created for this, and we're going to walk through all the kind of the survey findings. We sent you, several of you answered a survey that kind of asked you what you were looking for in integrations. From that, we decided that our multi-step campaign feature is a really great tool to solve those problems. Now, I know that's not an integration, but we're first going to show you multi-step, and then we're going to show you how to integrate it to really create kind of that ongoing, continuing conversation with your customers. And then we're going to show you Zapier, which is kind of how you hook it all up, or at least one way to hook it up. We're going to go through alternatives to Zapier, and we can discuss all that without getting too geeky. And then we're going to walk through two examples that David A., who will join the call later, created for us. One is just sending a simple card using Zapier. The other one is enrolling somebody in that multi-step, and you'll understand what multi-step is at that point. Finally, we will do a live Q&A, and it is important to note that we are going to show everybody's Q&A questions on the screen at that time. I'm not going to put it up now because I think it would just be distracting. But when we get to this part of the webinar, we're going to put those questions up on the screen, so you can feel free to post your questions there. Please keep it clean, everybody. It will be broadcast live. So with that, let's continue here. So first, a quick word. I want to thank you all so much for these questions about integrations. I know the survey took a lot of time to fill out, and we very much appreciate you going through that and doing that. So thank you very much. This was very useful, and we're going to do our best to make this a very practical, useful webinar for you. So first of all, what did people say? Number one, they want to do follow-ups and lead nurturing. That was client follow-ups mentioned 14 times, lead nurturing mentioned 11 times. To us, that sounds like a perfect use case for this multi-step, which I'll talk about. And then when asked about your pain points, it was lack of time and knowledge and the frustrations of manual processes. I get it. So hopefully this will answer all of that as well. So you guys, you said you had some desires: time savings, scalability, personalization. It all makes sense. We're going to address all of that right now. So what platforms are you using? And this was actually really interesting. We got a lot of requests for ClickUp, which is an interesting tool in that it's really not a contact manager. However, our guru, David A., did figure out a way to do it. We're going to walk you through that in a few minutes. We also received requests from High Level, a much more simple integration with Zapier that we can show you. And then Google Contacts, Google Workspace, those are two. So those are two of the five. And then finally, QuickBooks Online. So we're going to walk you through probably the most challenging one, just because it required a little circuitous logic to get there, and then the rest of these should be pretty straightforward. That said, we do have David A. In-house to answer any of your questions at the end of this if none of this is clear, and then obviously we can create some blog posts, that type of thing, to walk you through how to do this in high level or Google or QuickBooks. Other mentions, and we're not really going to talk about these because quite frankly, we have videos on Salesforce and HubSpot, and those weren't the number ones requested here. So if you are interested in Salesforce, Amber is actually the head of our Salesforce practice, or the head of the Salesforce product. So she would be the person to answer those questions. We have multiple videos on YouTube and on our own website that walk you through that. It is our largest integration. And then we also have HubSpot, and we are working to improve HubSpot further. We were hampered for a while by HubSpot's UI limitations on what we could integrate. They are kind of opening up that now. We internally are starting to use HubSpot, so we will be our own beta testers. Zoho, you can actually Google Zoho Handwrytten, and I know there's posts and videos that pop up. You could just use the same Zapier techniques we're showing here. It wasn't one of the top 5, but you can certainly use Zapier to do that. And I'll explain what Zapier is in just a minute. So kind of getting back to the last slide, Handwrytten, it has the most integrations of any platform out there. So we have direct integrations. So those would be Salesforce, Shopify, Blackbaud, which is kind of a CRM or a contact donor management system for nonprofits, HubSpot, and then we integrate with car dealership platforms, Tekion and CDK, and other ones through Dealer Vault. Those are the main integrations, and then we integrate with thousands of other systems through low-code, no-code platforms like Make and Zapier. And Zapier is the 800-pound gorilla, so that's the one I'm going to walk you through in just a second. And why do we do this? Well, automation is the key to consistency. As some of you mentioned in pain points, manual processes, yeah. If it's manual, it could be the quickest manual process, but if it's still manual, you're going to stop doing it after a few weeks. And if you stop doing it, then your clients don't have that good experience. And quite frankly, Handwrytten doesn't make any money. So we want you to send notes on an integrated, automated way. And that's why we continue to do this. Now, if there's an integration that we don't have, whether through Zapier or Zapier doesn't go far enough, or whatever it is, if the solution that we have for you does not function, let us know, and we will try to determine if we can apply some development resources to make that happen. For instance, right now, if we can get the company on the phone, and if we have any home services people here, please assist us. We're trying to get a direct integration to ServiceTitan, and we just haven't had any ability to get ServiceTitan cooperating with us, but that's on the roadmap. Okay, so let's talk about multi-step campaigns, because I think you're going to find this really useful. It is the world's simplest drip campaign system with handwritten notes. It's great for client nurturing, and it is very simple. So I am going to be turning my head to the left here because I have another screen with all of this up. So one moment, please, if I could find that screen. Okay, here we go. So within Handwrytten, and this is activated for everybody's account, you just log into your Handwrytten account, and it always goes slower when I'm streaming, and you would click your name, and then under your name, you'd click Campaign Manager. And you're going to see 3 options here. You're going to see outbound prospecting, which is where you can select on a map who you want to target, and we'll pull in those leads and send them out. We have birthdays and anniversaries, which is also an automation. We're actually trying to make this integratable, easily integratable with your with Zapier and Make and that type of thing. We'll follow up when that's done. And then finally, multi-step campaigns. So David A, went ahead and created a multi-step campaign for us, but we're actually going to start from scratch so you can kind of get a feeling of what this is. So I'm going to hit add a new multi-step campaign. And what's really cool is I love this. It shows you what cards are being used in this campaign. So I'm going to hit add new multi-step campaign. And we will do this. Let's pretend we're a realtor. So I will call this new homeowner outreach. And step one is we will call this home closed. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a card. Things really do go slower when you're streaming here. And I'm going to go to real estate to pull up our real estate cards. And I will find the home doors card because it's one of my favorites. If I can find it, I guess somewhere here. Well, too many cards to, well, I could do this. Doors. There we go. Well, that's holiday doors. Okay, fine. So I will select this card, and this will be the first card that goes out as part of the campaign. And I'll explain what I mean by campaign, but first, let's just walk through it and you'll get a good idea. So what'll happen is there's a card and then there's a message. So dear, and now you cannot do their name because we're going to enroll contacts in this. So we have to use mail merge field. So you click over on the right, we're going to say first name. Thank you so much for letting me help you with the purchase of your new home. It was such a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to watching you make the home your own. Okay, and then we will just put in a little footer here. Yours very truly. And then I will add my signature, which is actually for just an employee here. So I will just then preview this. So now, right now it says dear first name, but that'll get obviously replaced with their actual first name. So thank you so much for letting me help you with your purchase. Yours very truly, Justin Saganti. Great. So that's step one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait. Okay. So we're going to wait. We're going to add a step and we're going to wait. I don't know, let's say 4 weeks. Or actually, let's wait 4 months and then send them a follow-up called purchase follow-up. And then I will select another card. When this pulls up. You know, we'll just do that. I know it's not their anniversary, but we'll just do that. And then we'll type another message. So this could be message 2. Maybe we want to include a gift card to Starbucks with that one. And then we're going to wait again. We'll wait a year and we'll send them another card. So what you're doing is you're outlining, or you're just placing your multi-step drip, your lead nurturing, your contact nurturing campaign right here. And then we will call this one final step, just so I can finish up here. And then I will just select a card at random so I don't waste your time. Actually, not a bad card to choose. And then I will create. Okay, so here is our 3-step campaign. We have 0 recipients, which is important to know, because what we are going to do is, unlike a blast or a bulk upload, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with in our system, where you upload all your contacts at once, or you select all your contacts at once, then everybody gets the message at the same time, or the the card at the same time. With these campaigns, it's relative to when they're enrolled. So you don't sell a house to 500 people in one day. You sell 6 or 8 or 10 or, hopefully more houses over the course of a year, right? So what we're going to do is when I sell that house, as I'm a realtor, I will hit enroll. I will then select my return address, which doesn't matter, and I will pick my contact there, Jane Doe. And then I will hit enroll. Okay, so now I have one recipient in this campaign. And then a week later, I sell another house. I'm having a great month. I enroll them. And now you will have 2 people going through that campaign at different times on schedules that are unique to them. Now, this is great, but the topic of this webinar is integrations. So the real point is if you sell a house and you're using Follow Up Boss or whatever that real estate system is, how do you integrate it with Handwrytten so that we can connect the contact and drop them directly in a multi-step campaign? And that's what we're going to talk about next. So let me come back here. And again, I will open this for questions, so please hold your questions until then, and then at the end of this webinar, we can run through all that. Well, we just did that, so we're good there. So then the question is, how do you integrate? And for most of you, if you're doing simple integrations, the answer is Zapier. And just side note, some people call it Zapier, but I know for a fact it's Zapier because if you look at the bottom of some of their collateral, it says Zapier makes you happier, so it's not going to be Zapier makes you happier. So Zapier, I like to think of as a tool. It's like the hub of a wheel. Okay, so at this point there's 8,000 apps that connect to Zapier. Handwrytten is one of them. You can see us conveniently located just to the left of the asterisk. But Zapier sits at the hub of that wheel, and Handwrytten's a spoke. If Handwrytten's a spoke and ClickUp's a spoke, by going through the hub of the wheel, you can connect Handwrytten to ClickUp. And this is why we leverage Zapier and tools like Make so much. It's because we cannot go out and design 8,000 integrations, but people can elect, companies can elect, they can hold their hand up and say, I want to be on Zapier and I want to be on Make. They will create the integrations for those platforms, then we just leverage that, if that makes sense. So 8,000 apps that work together. It's much easier than programming an API. And it's really best for us, and it's actually even more so the case now, it's really an if this, then that type of connection. So you have 2 different Zap parts. Every Zapier solution is what's called a trigger, which we call the if this. And then the Zap, which is the then that. And I'll make this clear in just a second. But for example, well, I'll get to that in a second. Handwrytten is currently the then that part, okay? While we are able to send triggers through webhooks, which is kind of outside the scope of this conversation. So if somebody scans a QR code that you put in one of your cards, we can actually have that as a trigger. It's not currently native to Zapier, and we are looking to add that. But it's not a really huge use case for us currently anyway. The main use case is when something happens, you want to send a card. So we're the then that part, if that makes sense. So when a QuickBook invoice is sent, send a handwritten card. We are the response to something happening. So, and I know this is getting geeky, and so does Urkel. So Urkel wants you to know it's not that hard. Okay, so when an online form is filled out, send a handwritten card. When a deal reaches a stage in a pipeline, you can enroll them in a multi-step campaign. When somebody registers for this webinar, we could add them to your Handwrytten address book. These are all things you can do with the if this, which is on the left, to the then that Handwrytten action. Most handwritten actions, quite frankly, are when somebody buys a product, send a handwritten card. It's always send a handwritten card, right? But there's other things that you might want to look for as well, such as enroll in a multi-step or record that activity to an address book. So Urkel thinks it's pretty easy too. Okay, so I'm going to show you some Zapier demos here very quickly, and then we will come back and answer questions about it. So first, let me open the single card Zap. So we took on the challenge of connecting ClickUp to Handwrytten. This was the most asked for integration, so we wanted to make sure to handle it. So it's also kind of an interesting one, so we wanted to go through this with you. So to do ClickUp is more of a task list, according to David A., who we'll bring on in a second, than really a contact manager. So what we had to do was we created this outreach workspace with 2 or 3 task lists on it. The first one is recipients. So, and if you're recreating this yourself, this is how you do it. So we have a recipient, and in that to-do list, there's some custom fields. So David went ahead and created a custom field called address, city, country, state, postal code, first name, last name. And you will want to do the same. You will want to create, sorry about that. You will want to create these custom fields or similar custom fields. So let's go ahead and go back, and I will fill it in for me. So my address line 1 is 9280 South Kyrene Road. Address line 2, Suite 134. Address line 10P. United States. And David. Whoops, 5284, and then the state is AZ. Okay, so I've created a contact record, in essence, of David in ClickUp. So the next thing we want to do is we want to send David a handwritten note. So the way this works is if we go back to the Zapier campaign, we connected when a new task is created, and the list is handwritten notes. So we're going to create a task here and trigger this in a second. If a task called handwritten notes is created, then run. So then we are going to find the task by ID, and it's just going to pull up the task ID. And then we are going to send a card to that task holder or to that recipient. So the return address on that card is listed here. And then the way it works is the fields from ClickUp, custom field first name, custom field last name, address line 1, address line 2, city, state, zip, have all been populated. So if I edit this, you can see how easy it is. So the way this works is if I go down to recipient first name, I just click this little slash, and it knows every task that we used before that. So I just pull the task by ID, and I find his first name, custom field first name, somewhere in here. It's probably easier to search for it. Custom field first name. There it is. And then you just do that for all of the fields here. Now, I will say this is a very complicated example. Most examples are way easier. So if you are following this or kind of following this, you're in a great spot. Okay. So then we're going to hit continue. I'm not going to save this, but and then we update the task at the end to say that, yep, the card went out. So that's how you do it in ClickUp. We also created a sample for doing campaigns. So it's really very much the same thing. Let me go back here. Add to multi-step campaigns. So here, it is a little bit more complicated. Again, the same thing. The user finds a task by ID. We then create a contact because you have to create a address book entry, and then you enroll them in the multi-step. Now, one thing to note, Handwrytten is built into Zapier. So all you need to do is search for us in Zapier. You'd create a contact, which is one of the actions, and you'd add the contact to the multi-step to continue. So just to show you how this works, if I go to campaigns, and I'm sure I'm creating more questions than I'm answering here, but this will add to a multi-step campaign. So now what I do, because I have these recipients of David and Santa, if I want to add David to that multi-step campaign, I have to say, David, the name doesn't matter, but I have to link it to the other task. So I click this little custom fields. I then do the drop down, add task, and I would select David. And then I would hit save. And by doing that, that is going to trigger, and it takes like 5 minutes. I'm not going to waste your time on this. That will trigger the creation of a handwritten note in Handwrytten. So I know this is a very specific example for ClickUp, but it was the most requested. So to answer how to do it in ClickUp, you want to create 2 different sheets. You want to do one sheet called, and you can see here that this is done. You want to create one sheet called contacts or recipients, and then the other sheet is what's going to trigger Handwrytten to send. So we have an example that's campaigns, and we also have an example that's just handwritten notes. Hopefully all that makes sense. Let me create a simpler example for you just to walk you through it, and then we will head back to talk to David and answer your questions here. So I'm going to create a new task. Now the trigger, just to make this very simple, I'm going to leave blank. That would be whatever app you're looking to connect. So that could be QuickBooks, it could be, in this case, it was ClickUp, it could be anything, but we're not going to click that now. Instead, we're going to go straight to the action just so you can see how this would work. Maybe it won't let me because I didn't. Oh, so let's just do it just to get it to go forward. I will do pipe drive because that's something we use here very frequently. And the event will be create. I want to do stage. Well, we can do let's just pick create deal. So when a new deal is created in Pipedrive, we want to send a handwritten note. I will pick my account with that, and then I will continue. And then this actually creates the deal. I'm sorry. We will do Pipedrive, choose the event. Aha, here we go. New activity, continue. I got one. And then we will go down here and we will add handwritten. So whatever your if this is will be up here, and then we will add handwritten. And let me show you that again. So all you do is you click the plus, you search handwritten, and this probably won't even show up for you. That's just because we're developers of the handwritten app. We will click handwritten, and the action event can be add contact to multi-step, add an order to a basket, but don't send the orders. That could be useful if you want to review those orders later before you send it. So if you have an automation set up and you're not convinced it's going to work correctly, you could always add them to a basket. I will go in and show you test mode also, but you can add them to a basket and then just check out your basket, make sure everything looks good, and then hit send. You can create a contact. That would be useful if you're enrolling in a campaign. But I will do send card, which is the simplest thing you could do in handwritten. I will select my account. I've already added it. Now, the way you add, well, we could just do this real quick. The way you add your account to handwritten is you will go to, I believe it's preferences and payment. New. There should be a option here to do this. So integrations, of course. We will copy our API key. We'll make sure to delete all these so you don't see them. And then we will go over here and we will create a new or connect a new account. And then all you got to do is paste in that API key. So Zapier demo. Now what this is going to do is this is going to create a connection to handwritten that if you change your username or your password to handwritten, it won't break anything. And that's why people really like API keys. So now that we have that, we can connect the Zapier demo account and continue. And now we can start filling this out. Now you can hard code in a lot of the information, like usually the sender is the same. It's always David or whomever, but then the recipient would change. So here we would just click field mapping, and then all the activity from Pipedrive is here. So you could just pull in Tyler, and then you're good to go there. So if I, yeah, there, recipient business name Tyler, it should really be his first name, but you get the idea. The other thing people often ask is, how do I use templates in Zapier? And you really don't need to, because what you would do is if you want a template from handwritten in Zapier, create it in Zapier. So I would do dear, and then I would just click the slash and do first name. And then this is a dynamic token that'll get replaced with the person's name when it runs the Zap. So dear Tyler, comma, no, you know, whatever you want to say. Now, one thing to note is if you have any signatures in your account, you can add them very easily. You just go to integrations again, I believe, and you'd copy your signature code, and then you just put it in the sign-off. And that would put your signature in the sign-off. You can include gift cards here and custom inserts and all that good stuff, but that's how you do it. Once you've done that, then your Zap will run. Now, one thing to note, I always recommend turning on test mode. And again, if you go to the integrations menu, you can see the little beaker over here. That's because test mode's on. What test mode does is it runs as if it's going to run your campaign or your automation or send your card, but it doesn't actually send your card. If you don't have a plan with us, it will attempt to use your credit card. And if your credit card doesn't work, it'll fail, which is good testing. if your credit card does work, it'll just put a hold on your credit card, which drops off after a few days. So don't worry, we're not going to be charging your card for those tests. And we certainly don't write that note and mail it. But the rest of the flow is exactly the same. The only other thing to note there is you do need to go in and turn off test mode when you're done. Otherwise, you'll call us complaining saying, why aren't my notes going out? So that's really that. So with that, let's get back to the little presentation here. So Zapier, quite frankly, I find that they've made it more complicated than it needs to be. It's not my favorite solution. However, every other solution is also much more complicated. The big hot ones today are N8N and Make. We use Make a lot around here. We are direct integrations in N8N, in Make, in Pabbly, and this new one I found called PipeDream, which I wouldn't recommend, but I just wanted to throw it up there. So these are other platforms that you can use that, honestly, if you're doing complicated zaps, so if somebody submits an invoice payment in QuickBooks, send them a handwritten note, and then send out a Teams message, and then schedule a video call. So you can do multiple layers. If you start doing anything like that, you might want to move away from Zapier and consider one of these other platforms. We use Make a lot. I didn't want to go through that here. I will say, if you're using HubSpot for any advanced integrations, Make is a much better solution than Zapier. Okay, so if you're doing anything with HubSpot, choose Make over Zapier. Okay, hopefully I didn't bore you all to tears. We are now going to have, I will bring up David A here. And I will turn on comments. I have lost, I think, 13 of you, so I apologize about that. But we are now open for comments, so please feel free to post your comments here. And if we don't get any in real time, there are a few questions here. Okay, when I've tried to set up a Zap, I can't seem to locate the workflows. Is there a way to change? Well, I guess this is for David A. Go ahead.
So when I try to set up, I can look at workflows. There's a change search location, close CRM.
What is the suggestion?
So we're not familiar. Let me look it up. So I'm not familiar with close CRM. So that's probably CRM specific question.
So regarding workflows, I think what you're talking about is Zaps. And if we go to, I will share my screen once again. One second. So if you go into Zapier and you click Zaps, and I don't know if I'm going to answer this or not, there is a search by name. So when you create that Zap, be sure to name it something useful. We do a lot of Zaps around sample requests. So if I search samples, look at all these sample request Zaps. Many of them are on. So that's how you find it. And then I'm going to come back here. Can't seem to locate the workflows. Is there a way to change the search location? It seems to map to a different location in our internal work. Can't be located. The workflows created in the, oh, I see. It's not using Zapier. That would be a question then. That would be a question then for close in how to do it there. As far as upload art files, you can go into Handwrytten, create those one by one, and create those cards and then reference those in Zaps or in Close, or use them like any other card. There is a way to create those cards using our API and I believe Zapier, correct, David?
It might not be Zapier. I mean, Zapier allows you to place any custom API calls, so you can create it. Might be a little bit more complex than just logging into a Handwrytten website and creating a card. You can do it through Zapier. If they need to be unique, it just requires some level of technical knowledge, but it's possible, yes.
I hope that somewhat answered it, Ted. If not, please, feel free to reach out to me after the call. We'll have
Yeah, as
my
far
email.
as closed CRM, we don't have knowledge on the CRM, so we can't like help you with how it works inside the CRM and how it triggers a Zap. Once you can trigger a Zap or make automation or anything, from there we can show how to get to sending a card. But
Can we get a video for, okay, so the other questions, is there an integration for follow-up boss? Yes, that's Zapier. That's a very common one, and we can try to create a Loom video or a YouTube video on that, as well as one for Go High Level, GHL. So those we will create and post too. They're much simpler integrations. I just don't have a Go High Level account or Follow Up Boss currently. So we will try to create videos and post them. But if you followed this at all let me just share my screen one more second. If you create a Zap and you say the trigger, if you search here, actually, I think Go High Level is called something else because with Go High Level, there's the whole multi-level, becoming a Go High Level rep. So their Zapier Zap has a completely different name. It's not Go High Level, but it is available. So you'll want to look that up. Follow-up boss is very straightforward. You can just connect follow-up boss, deal stage updated, new appointment, etc., straight to Handwrytten. So it's very, very simple to do there. I'm going to pass it over to David and Amber for the rest.
Okay, we've got another question from Paul. For Salesforce integration, is multi-language supported? For example, if sales teams in Asia and Europe want to use Handwrytten, that is a great question, and I don't have the answer for that now. If you're asking if the robots can write cards in languages familiar to Europe, yes. A lot of Asian characters, no. But if you're asking if the app integrates and converts languages, I can find that out fairly easily, and I can circle back to you on that. Eric, I don't believe that we have high-level videos yet. This webinar will be posted on handwrytten.com under our webinars link. And I imagine that we will also have videos. Anything that David said that we would post usually goes on our YouTube channel. And then Ted had some more contacts. Oh, no, that might be the same one.
With regard to Asian, so European characters are no problem. And they will get mailed from the United States, so they all have international postage attached to them. Unless you're talking, and I know it's not in Europe, but it's another country, Canada. In Canada, we mail domestically. So we drop ship on a multi-times a week to Canada, and then it's put in the mail with a Canadian stamp, Canadian postmark. As far as Asian characters go, here's the sticky wicket. What is written typically, and I always, every time I have an Asian audience, I say, correct me if I'm wrong. And they always nod yes, they never say no. So I believe I'm right here. But the issue is what you type in a kanji character set or Mandarin character set, etc., is very different than what you write. And our robots will write what you type. So somebody would receive it and it would look weird. It would be like, well, this is what I'd receive in an email, but somebody drew it out. And it would not give a very authentic look. So we just haven't gone there. We feel handling this solution for Latin character sets like, North America, Europe, Australia, that type of thing, South America is where we're currently focused. We have not tried to go after Middle Eastern, Hebrew, or Islamic character sets. Amber?
I agreed. So For multi-users, is there an MFA or SSO, or better simply to create multi-accounts? Are we going back to the questions in close from Ted, or is that referring to our multi-step in Handwrytten? If you have a Handwrytten account, and jump in either of you if you're understanding this different than I am, it's in your Handwrytten account, you can have multiple APIs and use them in your system. So like when David pulled up his account, he had several APIs that were used in different places. We can do that, and that doesn't have an MFA or an SSO because the API came from one Handwrytten account, which does have an SSO if you want to set that up. Is there any other way that you guys are interpreting that question, David or David?
So I think the question is, should they have multiple Handwrytten accounts or a single account?
Team members setting cards.
So depending on how you want to manage it, you can set up multiple Handwrytten accounts, have separate users with separate API keys. Some of our clients prefer to do that. Or you can have a single account and just set up multiple API, sort of one API key for different users to use them.
And then, you know, Ted, I don't know if you're asking specifically for integrations or just in general multi-accounts. If you're talking in general multi-accounts, we do have our new Handwrytten business plans and the elite plan, which I will pull up for you over here. By the way, our new pricing is very attractive, I think, for many people. And I'm sorry again to pull it away from the team, but if you go to business or to pricing, the elite plan and actually the enterprise plan include multi-user management. So what happens is you don't prepay a bunch of credits, you pay a monthly fee every month. The cards are then additional to that monthly fee. And then they're billed at the end of the month, they're invoiced at the end of the month. So we have clients with 50, 100 accounts. They all have access to the same cards if you want them to have access to special cards or special signatures, handwritings, whatever that is. But they're individual accounts that those users can log into. As far as one-click login into the accounts, we do have an old feature that's dated back years and years, which is a token that it would be a URL with a token at the end, which would log you directly into those accounts. So if you create 50 accounts and you're an enterprise or an elite plan, we could then provide you those tokens, which would log you in. And if you're interested in discussing that more or seeing, you know, a demonstration of that, I'd be happy to do that after this call.
Perfect. And then to answer your question, Ted, about Apple versus PC, you are going to need to convert the Apple, it's numbers, I believe, is the Apple version of Excel. You do need to convert that to an Excel or a CSV file in order to upload it to our system, but that should work. If it doesn't, let us know. And for that, I think that is all of our questions so far. What other questions do you guys have burning in your minds?
Seeing none, I think we will give everybody their time back here. So let me just, for a last time here, say thank you. We're super excited that you're all interested in this topic. We're here to support you. So after this call, we will somehow get a Go High Level account and we'll hook it up. We'll figure out what they name their Zap. They hit it somehow, so we will find out the name of those Zaps in Zapier. If anybody, by the way, knows that, please pop it in the chat. It would be save us all some time here. So please pop it in the chat if you've connected GHL to anything in Zapier. And then we will also post a follow-up video. Both of those videos will get posted directly to our YouTube channel. We'll try to do that by the end of next week. So give us a few days to get it done, and then we will get it, you know, certainly out within the next 10 days, and we'll have all those videos done. So with that, I just want, on behalf of the team here, I just want to thank you all so much for joining, and we look forward to helping you with your integrations. By the way, my email is david@handwrytten. Amber is amber@handwrytten, to keep it very simple. And we will involve David A. and other team members as necessary. So thank you.
Thank you so much.